Hi, everybody, and welcome to Rise and Shine. Ken Reid in Charlotte with you today. Well, my sister Donna and I were talking the other day about old memories when we were kids. And I want to say, first of all, thank you to a gentleman by the name of David Seal. I perceive that he is a relative of mine because my grandmother's maiden name was Seal, Clara Seal, and her father's name was Tom Albert Seal, who was a preacher. I would like to talk to you for just a moment about that, because I really believe that we have a godly heritage that's gone on before us. A godly heritage is something that's passed down from one generation to the next. And because we're talking about godliness, it really is saying that we have taught it to our children and our grandchildren, and that they've been so impressed with it and ingrained and indoctrinated with it that they are pursuing a lifestyle of Christianity and godliness. And I'm a blessed man. I'll just leave it right there. I'm a really blessed man in that regard. Pat Woods and I were talking back a while ago, and he said, we got a really great heritage. And I don't spend a lot of time looking back. I really don't, but just seems to me that the closer you get to heaven, sometimes you start looking back and thinking about things. And Dave Seal sent a picture to the Standard Church Facebook section of my great-grandfather, Tom Albert Seal, in a carriage with his wife, Amelia, and the three children, my grandmother, Claire Reid, and Osborne, one of his sons, and Delmer, the other son. They would have been Clara Seal, Osborne Seal, and Delmer Seal. And out of that set of genetics, I have some wonderful cousins. I'm thinking about them right now, and if you're listening, God bless you. We have let life go by without spending a whole lot of time together. I feel bad about that right now at this moment. But we'll have eternity, won't we? But out of that gene circle came a lot of people that love God and hooked up with Christianity and Christ and began to pass down a godly heritage. My story today is about Tom Seal. In Psalm 16 and verse 6, the writer declares that I have a godly heritage. I never met Tom Seal, but for 5 years running, many years ago, when I was just a kid preacher, Reverend Raymond Martin and Winifred Martin, pastoring at Arden Standard Church. I think it was Harlow as well. Invited me to come 5 years consecutively to have a revival. I was glad for the opportunity because I love to preach. I was glad for the opportunity because it put me back in the area where my great-grandfather, Tom Seal, started his ministry. in that place and further north. Also, I'd get to be with my mom and dad. And so while I was preaching those revivals, there were some old, I'm not being disrespectful, they'd have to be old for this to happen. They were old, not just older, they were old people that came to me and said, Pastor Ken, we have something we feel we should tell you. We were young people when your great-grandfather, Tom Seal, was in his heyday of preaching. And they were coming out to hear me almost every night. And I was just probably 25 or 30. And they said, we can't believe how much you and your grandfather act alike. Now, he'd already been dead and gone. I never met him. Don't know where he lived or where he died. I only know, according to the records, he was a great preacher. He was very excited. He was very anointed. Seldom stood still behind the pulpit, but moved around frisky-like all over the platform, and was known to come down on the congregation and even mount up on a pew once in a while. He was loud and boisterous. And when he preached on hell, you could feel the coals of the fiery furnace burning right underneath your feet. He was a strong man. He had a good smile on his face. Look at that picture. And these old people told me, your mannerisms and your style of preaching and the way you go about it is exactly the way your great-grandfather did it. Never forgot that. Never forgot it. It pierced my soul. It pierced my heart. It pierced my mind like a spear going in it. And I thought, what a heritage. The lines have fallen to me in pleasant places. I'm very blessed that my children love God and are serving God. My grandchildren the same. And certainly, I don't feel like I've been a perfect parent, but somehow they have caught the desire to be Christians and to pass down the heritage, the godly heritage. Let me tell you more about this Tom Seal preacher man. When he was called to preach, it was in the circle of the Standard Church of America, that particular denomination, which Bishop Horner, not sure, but I think his initials were CR, I think, was the overseer of that denomination. And the Standard Church followers were often referred to as Hornerites because Bishop Horner was the leader. 3 young men felt they had a call from God to preach. The presiding elders of the Hornerites, I'm told, this story I was told, gave them a tent and sent them into the northern country, north of where I was preaching in Arden. Way north. And said, if you're really called to preach, pitch the tent and have a revival. No, there's no church where they sent them. They pitched the tent by themselves. 3 of them. They had no food along. Because you do know that the Bible talks about that. Jesus said, don't worry about taking any money along or any clothes along or any extra clothes or any extra money. Or he says, I'll take care of you. And they started in having services. They went all around that particular community. I wish I knew the exact community to tell you. I don't. This is a story that has been passed on down to me. And if there's anybody that knows about it and it needs to be critiqued and made more accurate, feel free to do it. I don't know who the other 2 gentlemen were that felt they were called to preach, but they would visit in the daytime and have service at night, and the people started to come out. They didn't have any way of cooking food. They ate berries out of the bush. Not the burning bush either. The bush is in Canada, what we call it, the forest. They ate berries out of the fence rows. It wasn't long before some of the ladies who were coming to the service began to realize these guys need something to eat, and they started bringing food to them. On the first Friday night of that revival meeting, three local, I was going to call them pugs, but that's not being respectful. Gentlemen that loved to fight, gentlemen that were the bullies of the community, that's what I want to say, showed up and walked right down the aisle in the middle of Tom Seal's message and said, Friday night we'll be in here again to kick you out of here. You better pack this tent up and get out of here because we're coming back Friday night. I am told that the other 2 preachers skedoodled and chose another vocation. But Tom stuck with it. I just want to tell you there's been hundreds of times I felt like quitting and giving up for one reason or another. And that's not to put any blame on anybody else. I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad Tom didn't. My great-grandfather. Never quit. Never quit. They went on having revivals. People were getting saved. People were getting healed. There was a great move of God in that community. But on Friday night, halfway through his sermon, here come the local bullies. He saw them coming down the aisle. He left the platform, threw off his coat, Tom Seal, rolled up his sleeves, and met them halfway. He was ready to quit pussyfooting around. He was ready to take authority over the enemy. There must have been a great anointing there that surrounded him because the thugs, there I said it, the bullies, when they got within arm's reach of him, they realized this is a big man. He's not scared of us at all. They took off running. And Tom continued to preach, had a great revival there. If anybody knows anything more about this story, I wish you'd get back to me and let me know. It's a powerful story. And as a result of that, there was a group started in that area who began a godly heritage in a Christ-following community as a result of Tom not backing down. And when that lady and gentleman, the old couple, came to me and said, "You preach just like Tom Seal. We've heard him. We hear you. It reminds us of him." I can't tell you what that did to my heart. Just can't tell you what that did to my heart. I'm so grateful for that heritage. If Tom Seal had a quit, I might never have gotten started. Anyway, a little choked up on that. The lines have fallen to me in good places. You see them lines in Tom's hand holding that beautiful horse? I perceive him to be like a standard bred horse, a road horse for sure. He's a little bigger than a standard bred. Might be just the way the picture was taken, but a beautiful little buggy, a Surrey there, and a beautiful horse, a good set of harness, and obviously he's all dressed up and ready to go to work for the Lord. Well, it's amazing to me. I guess I've had about altogether 20 horses in my lifetime. And I just come to realize the genetics and traits and habits can sometimes be passed down, a lot of times, from one generation to the next. You understand? So I have to end this by saying, who are you influencing to follow after you? Who are you influencing to follow after you? You see, the Apostle Paul said, "Follow me. Follow my example as I follow Christ." The lines have fallen to me in good places. I'm glad for my spiritual heritage. And David Seal, I suspect we're related. I'm not exactly sure where, for sure, but I'd love to talk to you. Please get back with me. Okay? And if anybody knows more about the story than I did, I'd love to hear from you. And if the folks on the Standard Church website, face page, hear this story and would like to relate it concerning Tom Seal, that'd be great. But anyway, never, never quit. God bless.